Children have rights. Did I just hear someone say, what right does my child have? Yes, he or she does. And today we'll be talking about child rights. And I have Barrister Evans Ofeli. He's a crusader on the rights of women and children in sub-Saharan Africa. Yes, you're the mother. Yes, you're the dad, but a child has a right. And you'll get to know that. And that is if you do not go anywhere. My name is Yudi, and this is the Yudi Factor. We'll see you after this time out. You're welcome back. Barrister Evans, thank you very much for coming once again to empower us with information.
Thank you.
In a society, do our children really have rights, considering the kind of society in which we live in? Nigeria being a very traditional society, do as you're told, don't argue.
Yeah. First of all,
Yes.
let's start with who a child is by
Yes.
our law.
Okay.
Okay. The Child Right Act, that is the principal legislation on the right of a child, says that a person is a child if he's below 18. That is, a child is someone who is 18 and below. Now, the child have rights, just like we have the embodiment of our fundamental rights in Chapter 4 of the Constitution.
Yes.
Most of those rights were replicated in the Child Right Act. The child have a right for education.
Yes.
The child have a right not to be abused, not to be sent to hawk on the street. A child should not be taken into different kind of hard labor.
Okay.
A child should not be used to traffic drugs. It's in the law. A child should not be marked or tattooed. It's 5 years imprisonment if you do that for parents watching.
So wait,
Don't
so
say
this tradition that allows children to have mark
Yes.
is 5 years imprisonment?
Yes. If you begin to mark them, say Abiku, say they are from the gods, they are from the god of iron and thunder and all this kind of inexplicable deity, and you begin to put razor on children, it is 5 years imprisonment by the Child Rights Act. And that law is critical. We should begin to understand that we cannot subject children to torture. We cannot use children for economic benefits just to tell them to go and hug goose when they're supposed to be in school. It's wrong. There is a severe penalty for it. You cannot use children for prostitution. You cannot use children as sex toys or sex...
pornography.
Yes, you cannot subject children to all those kind of things because they are completely a crime under our laws. You understand? But the question now is, these things still happen in our mix.
I was coming to that.
Yes, these things still happen in our mix. And when they happen, the people most of the times do not understand. They don't even know the right of the child. So that is why we're using this avenue to call on the government to incorporate the right of the child into the children's curriculum. Of what use is a right that is not in the children's curriculum?
And the children don't know.
Yes, because the adults that violates the rights of children, because a child stays under the authority
of
the parents.
Yes.
And this adult tend to perpetrate this. A child should not be subjected to any kind of sexual activity if he's below that age range. You understand? So, but it keeps happening because we are not educated society enough to know that these laws are critical and are important to the existence of, because the children we have today, they are the future of Nigeria. You understand? And if we have laws on ground that, that is supposed to help get them head on and make them to have a robust upbringing, if we do not enforce these laws, we're going to be having a lot of problems. As I speak to you now, there are over 14 million Nigerian children out of school. Whereas we have a Child Rights Act that prohibits that. You understand? Out of the 14 million children out of school, over 8.6 is from the north. You understand? So we must begin to interrogate all these indices, because it is from this kind of lack of enforcement of the Child Rights Act that we go forward to breed insurgency in future. We breed a lot of people who now feel they have nothing to lose or gain in the society. Therefore, they must take arms against the sea of trouble or take arms against society. Yes. It is from this part that it endures. When a child is supposed to be in school, is out of school. When a child is supposed to be doing something that will help him, apprenticeship, training that will give him a future, he's in marriage. When a child is supposed to be engaged in competitions, representing schools and debating and all that, he's away, he's on the farm.
Whose responsibility is it to enforce it?
The Child Right has the federal legislations that must be ratified in the various states. As I speak to you, a lot of states have ratified, about 15 states out of 36 states. Yes. And most of the states that have not ratified are in the north, except for Enugu in the south. You understand? So, but if you look at it, it's because the law, the provisions of that law actually runs against the culture of certain part of this country. Do you know that
culture and religion?
Yes, I had to join some lawyers sometime to go to a particular state where we went to fight a particular custom using the Child Right Act that says that a small child of 6, because he currently falls ill, is a witch. And they gathered them, put fire on them, and set them ablaze. Sometimes they take them to a white garment church where they are cocooned and initiated into, I don't understand. Sometimes they are locked up without food, water, with nothing because the child is a witch. I don't understand that. I don't understand how a child you gave birth to, you are not a witch, but the child passed through you and came out. And that child is a witch. The child has to be locked up somewhere. And you see, in these states and in these rural, urban cities where these things happen, people don't fight it enough. I had to join some lawyers to make sure that we enforce the right of that no child is a witch as you define it to be. Perhaps we should say that the parents have not been able to carry out their responsibility effectively. That is why the child is having some juvenile issues. You understand? Mm. And the country has also made provision if a child is not acting according to the family court, where if a child commits an offense, the child is tried. A child is not taken to prison, it's taken to the remand home, where this corrective measure is used to bring the child back to society and educate the child and make him useful in society. But where these people take the laws into their hands, okay, take the child, take him to somewhere, pour petrol, set him ablaze, lock him in a house. These are practices that are primitive, primordial, they are anachronistic, repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience. And this society must not continue to condone that. This society must not continue. When a little girl, for example, is raped by the uncle, what do you say about that? The child's right. You know, if you look at that section 31, 32, of the law, section 25, 28 of the law, spelled out all this. Article 18 of the Charter on Human and People's Rights, okay, that's the international law now, UN Charter, African Charter, that have also created that part that the child must be given the right to aspire, the right to good condition of life, the right not to be abused, not to be converted into hard labor, giving different kind of negative issue. So we must begin to look at the laws. Like I said, if only we can look at the laws and draw the tenets of the law and apply them to society, we feel that we have sufficient law to guide this. But the laws will not enforce itself. First of all, those governors who are in states where they've not ratified, the Child Right Act, they should begin to do that now and domesticate it. They should domesticate that law because Lagos State government have long domesticated the law.
But in Lagos State, we still have children on the streets.
Yes, they have children on the streets, and Lagos State government have done a lot to make sure that they are arrested, they are traced to their parents, and the adequate punitive measures are melted out.
What are the punitive measures? Like in Lagos State, for instance?
No, in Lagos State, where you subject a child to that kind of, it depends on the activity.
Yes.
You understand?
Take, for instance, street hawking.
Yes.
You trace them to the parents.
Yes, there's a fine to that effect, penalty of a fine to that effect. I think 3 months imprisonment.
Hold the thought, hold the thought. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. If you're just joining us, my guest is still Barrister Ofeli, a crusader for the rights of women and children in sub-Saharan Africa. Do you know that there's a punishment for violating a child's right? Most of the states where they have ratified it, you still have issues with people violating the rights of children. Who enforces that of children?
Yes, we need to talk more about institutions, okay? Some states have created task force to that effect. Okay. Just like Lagos State created a task force for traders, discipline, and all the environmental pollution, combine it up with the environmental impact assessment and people who do business. So the Lagos State government uses this task force, okay? Because it's about indiscipline, okay? And in special cases where maybe the abuser have gone beyond, maybe the abuser have raped a child, okay? Section 357 of the Criminal Code prohibits that nobody should have carnal knowledge of another person without his consent.
That is an increase.
And where you even do that and you procure that through duress or whatever, it is rape and it's punishable, imprisonment for life. An attempted rape is punishable 14 years imprisonment. You understand? So people should know that. And because we must begin to talk about institutions enforcing this, have these laws enforced such that we have a committed, body. Society should first see it as an offense to the state, because that is what it is. That you send your child out, you mark your child, you give different, it's an offense to the state. You understand? And even in those states where it has been ratified and people still hawk and people still go about, human beings have a way of disobeying laws. It's a question of indiscipline, you understand? But the enforcement order and agency must be ahead of the violators. You understand? I understand that in many states people still violate the right of a child. You understand? But it's a gradual process. We must have leaders in these agencies that are committed, that even understand the law itself, because some of the agencies, the operators of the people they use to enforce this law does not even know what the law says. So we must have a reorientation, re-education, training the trainers, training those people who are to know that we have sufficient law to curb all these excesses.
Don't you think we can use our churches? Because most people go to churches.
Of course.
They have children's churches. And whoever is the teacher in the children's church can, because the children must be educated on their rights.
Yes.
Because most children don't even know.
Yes, they don't know because they are not exposed to the
there's nobody
materials,
talking
and there's nobody talking to them.
Yes.
In the churches, what they do is to teach them the religion, okay, that particular. So I think it's a good point coming from you that the churches should also inculcate it in
their teachings, in the children's churches on Sunday.
Yes, they should include it. The schools should also include it.
Because if a child knows that I'm supposed to be in school,
yes,
and then you say the child should go and hawk, the child will tell you, Mama, government say make I go school.
Yes.
And then maybe probably run off to the police station to go and report. But then you never know what.
The children must begin to, as they watch this, they must begin to interrogate and ask questions. Okay. This is not one message to get children to be rebellious. No. It is a message that will put both the parents and the children in the enlightened path, so that the parents will understand that these children have rights. There is, you see, you brought a child to life. You have played your role as a parent, but then the child does not belong to you wholesomely. It belongs to the state. That is why you cannot kill him because you give birth to him and go scot-free. The state will come in because the child, have, upon birth, signed a social contract with the state for security. And that is why you as a parent is paying tax. That is the idea, such that whatever happens to the child, there is going to be issues within this. So parents should begin to understand that we must develop a system that will help children to understand. Then if you have parents also who have uncles, who have aunties that abuses children, maybe some of these uncles that have mental health challenges and all that, we must begin to address issues from the family, because from the history of abuse, if you look at it, the abuse of children is people who are related to children. You understand?
Well, they know people they trust.
Who they trust.
Yes.
You understand? I had a case not too long ago, sometimes last year. I had to come in because this man is a bus driver, okay, of a school. Now, he takes his children to school and take them to their respective homes. This particular day, I don't know what came on him. He took the children to their respective home and left a little girl of 4 years old, took her into the bush, into an uncompleted building where he raped her repeatedly. You understand? To the point that the child had to be taken to the hospital, from the hospital to different. There was issues of her intestine being destroyed, her body being violated, her vagina ruptured, because we have one wicked soul that was employed by an employer without proper check.
Yes.
You understand? Because employers, school drivers, drivers of a madam, drivers of Oga, you must place a check on them because they have a very high tendency to abuse your children. Because children seems to like to relate to uncles, aunties, especially when they get benefits from aunties and uncles. Children are children. We can't change that, but we can change a lot of things. We can tame their excesses, we can limit some of the things they do. And we also have said that they should open a register
for sex offenders.
Sex offenders,
like they do in the
register.
US.
Yes, like as it is in the US. Lagos State government have promulgated that, okay, where you have all the, so that before you get any kind of employment,
they check that if you have.
Yes, whether it's casual work, whether it's whatever kind of job, they will check your crime history, your antecedents, where you are coming from, who you are,
hold
what.
The thoughts, hold the thoughts, hold that thought. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. You're welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are talking about the child's rights. Barrister Ofeli, in these remaining moments, because we really are abusing our children. Nigerian children are so abused.
Yes.
And every year, we celebrate the Children's Day.
Yes.
What is that celebration about when we cannot use that opportunity to educate the children? Don't you think that on that Children's Day, where we celebrate children, it's a day we should use to empower our children with information so that they know exactly what they need to know about what their rights are as children?
You are making a very powerful point here, and that is, you know, our celebration is usually
meaningless,
momentary, sensational, and meaningless. We just throw party, and when we
they go to the stadium and match.
Adults will be organizing a birthday party for a 1-year-old child. The child will be crying. They are not concerned. They are doing different things. The child you are celebrating is not comfortable. There's heat. There's pressure on him. There's noise. They go about it and all that. And you see, we should begin to have this conversation more about the child, because this is where we take it from. You understand? Like, I was opportune to speak to children in several schools when they invite me to talk to children. One of the things I tell the female children is, anytime your uncle touches you in your private parts,
in a way that you feel uncomfortable.
Yes, and I define to them, that is why it is called private part. The next person should not go there without consent. And as you are at this age, you don't require anything to that effect. So I will tell them about it. And I've been able to express and, you know, use it. There was this secondary
even
high
the
school.
Boys.
Yes, the boys as well. They are
Yes.
abused. Okay, there's this girl, 17. She had this issue. She was having stomach pain. She went to, instead of going to meet a doctor, because doctors are also, he went to meet a traditional medical, whatever, tradomedical. The man saw her and said, okay, that you need to test her to know the condition of what is happening, whether she's pregnant or not, or this or that. The man asked her to come on a particular day. She came. He said the man used an instrument, I don't know, their medical or tradomedical instrument, to put in her vagina to check. And as the man was checking to find out so I can write report and all that, he said at a point the man removed the instrument and put his penis there. And when he did that, You know, before you started struggling with her and had intercourse with her, she got pregnant. It was a sorry case because this is an indigent girl. A girl that goes to school in the morning, close by 2, and go and hawk, okay, agidi and all that. These are indigent people. And someone with a tradomedical that said, you know, these issues, I followed that case head on. And I told the man that this case, this particular one, we must see it to the end because the level of indiscipline is
It's
high.
too much. It's high.
There are things I cannot say here because I'm on air. There was a particular case I was involved in where the woman had an operation, but because she could not, the doctor had to abstain from sex. So now the man started putting pressure on her, the man in the house. Then this woman took her little girl, 9-year-old, you understand, and spread her legs for the man so that the man will not go out. I'm not going to say more than this on air because I have more horrible stories I've seen that I've fought it, single-handedly fought it to the point where we must find justice in Nigeria, where women are abused, men are abused, little boys are, children are abused. And we just carry on as if nothing has happened. We just believe that things should just be like that. And when a country also do not have sufficient program for the child, there is problem. The country must also devote time to create, because a child get disappointed.
Idleness.
You understand? A child at 6, 7, you know, you try to learn 1 or 2 things, trying to understand what is going on. There's a power outage. And the child grows up like that. The child wants to study a course. She wants to study a course of her choice. You refuse her and give her another thing. What is that? A child score 200 in the Unity School. She's refused admission. A child from another region score 4. She's given admission. And you want both children to grow up and say, one Nigeria, one. What are you defining? So these inequalities, these differences, this abuse, this structure, we must put an end to it. What we need to do is to make sure that our children do not repeat most of the mistakes that, because life has really evolved. We must begin to create chances for them, you know, where they can, you know, they can stand out in society and correct the anomalies of society. We can have children who will begin to create, because when the child, upon birth, begin to think about survival, it shut down everything about the child, both talent, every natural ability is shut down, because the child must procure survival first before he begins to think of every other thing. And if a child is not given the opportunity to go to school to develop his inner faculties, then you have created more problems for society. Then at the end of the day, you now have to budget almost 140 billion naira to go and fight them when they have turned to insurgents, or when they have decided to carry arms against society. So it's better to tame them, to go to the grassroots, go to the primary schools, the nursery schools, begin to introduce them to better life, begin to teach them that which is positive, begin to teach them about their rights, inform their mind. You see, you will have less crime in society. If you look at some of the Scandinavian countries, okay, Finland, Netherlands, you discover that because of the level of education and they did in the 90s, crime rate dropped by 86%. Now they are shutting down prisons in Netherlands. We can have our children, put them in better life, put them in better condition, give them all they require, and we'll see their natural ability will come out. And this natural ability, talent, and understanding will help to solve the problem of society.
Are the children ready? It has to start. I'm a firm believer in the word, bring up the child in the way they should go. And when they grow up, they will not depart from it. I'm telling you the truth.
Yes.
Because if, I think it was a psychologist I read who said, he said, any character you do not imbibe in a child before the child is 7, forget it.
Yes, that is it now. The
So which
formative
means
years,
it starts from home.
Yeah, the formative years of a child. That is why parents, this message is more to parents than it is to government.
Exactly.
Because the child learns informal education from the home front.
Thank you.
And it is said in psychology that between 10 to 12 is the formative years of a child.
Yes.
Whatever enters a child, you cannot change it.
You can't.
Define his life in the next 26 years. Whatever enters between 0 and 26, define his life in the next 60 years. You cannot pray it out. Forget about the prayer you are going to. You cannot, because
you have to find time for your children.
Yes, formation is critical. When a child mind is forming, Okay? That is why you have to put them in good schools. You have to make sure that you watch what they do in those schools. You have to make sure that you supervise the people who stay after them.
We'll leave it here for now. We'll leave it here for now. Thank you so very much for coming. And there'll be fallouts from this, definitely. And I look forward to having you to come and deal with the fallouts.
Thank you very much.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. I'd like to ask fathers, mothers, what times do you get to see your children? Well, maybe by the time you come back from work, they're in bed. The maid tucks them in. And by the time they leave for school in the morning, you're off. The maid takes them off to school. The driver takes them off to school. What times do you really have for your children? Psychologists say any character you don't imbibe in your child before he's 7, forget it. Well, we can blame government, which we like to do. We can blame teachers. But do you blame yourself for what is happening in your child's life? When the child really needs you is when the child needs to be instructed by you as a mother or a father. You're to be there to know what the child is doing, who is with the child, or who is doing what with the child. Sometimes we don't know. Well, I guess most will say the economy. I need the money to send them to school. All I can say is find time for your children. I believe in that Bible saying that says, bring up the child in the way they should go. And when they grow up, they will not depart from it. Have you taught your child how to pray? Have you sat with your child to say, this is private, your private part, don't let anyone touch it? Have you told your child, when you go to school, this and this and this must not happen? When your child comes back from school, have you searched his or her bag to find out that eraser in that bag, did you buy it? That exercise book, that ruler. Find time for your children. Like they always say, our children are the leaders of tomorrow. Well, how can they be leaders when we don't imbibe good character in them? Until I come your way another time, my name is Yudi. This is My Factor. Goodbye, God bless, and see you again next week.